Death is expensive, much more than you think. Nobody likes to talk about death. Not at dinner, not at family gatherings, definitely not when signing financial documents. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Death is not just a biological event. It's also an economic transaction. Hospitals bill for it. Insurance companies calculate it. Governments predict it. Corporations profit from it. And sometimes, entire industries depend on it. The strange part? Most people spend their lives trying to earn money, without realizing how much money their death will eventually cost. And that raises a disturbing question. Is dying one of the most expensive things you will ever do? Modern medicine is incredible. It can restart hearts, replace joints, transplant organs, extend life far beyond what was possible just decades ago. But every additional year of life comes with a price tag. Studies across developed countries show that a large percentage of lifetime healthcare spending happens in the final years, sometimes the final months of life. Not because doctors are wasteful, but because keeping a failing body alive is technologically complex. ICU machines, specialists, emergency interventions, advanced drugs. Each hour of life can cost thousands of dollars. There's a quiet economic paradox here. The closer you get to death, the more expensive life becomes. Insurance companies operate on probabilities. They don't know when you personally will die, but statistically, they know the patterns. Age, gender, lifestyle, medical history, occupation, even zip code. All of these variables help predict life expectancy. This isn't science fiction, it's actuarial science. Life insurance premiums exist because death is predictable at the population level. And here's the unsettling reality. Your biological risks are someone else's financial model. The healthier you are, the less you pay. The riskier you are, the more expensive you become. From a purely economic perspective, human life has measurable risk value. Not emotional value, not moral value, risk value. Funeral services, coffins, cemeteries, cremation, legal administration, estate management. Globally, the death care industry is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and unlike many markets, demand is guaranteed. No marketing campaign is needed to convince people to eventually die. Customers are inevitable. There's even competition. Luxury coffins, premium burial plots, high-end memorial services. In some cities, cemetery land costs more per square meter than residential real estate, which leads to a dark but slightly funny economic observation. In death, some people finally acquire the most expensive property they've ever owned. Unfortunately, they can't enjoy it. Death is not only personal, it's economic at the societal level. When a working-age adult dies, society loses future labor output, tax contributions, experience and skills, family stability. Economists sometimes estimate something called the value of a statistical life, VSL. It doesn't mean a human is worth a certain amount emotionally. It means governments calculate how much money it makes sense to spend to reduce the risk of death. For example, if a safety regulation costs $1 billion but statistically saves 100 lives, policymakers evaluate whether the cost per life saved is acceptable. It sounds cold, but it's how infrastructure, transportation safety, environmental rules, and public health policies are decided. Your survival can literally be part of a cost-benefit equation. Many countries face a demographic shift. People live longer, birth rates decline, populations age. This creates enormous economic pressure. Pension systems strain, healthcare costs rise, workforce sizes shrink. Supporting older populations requires younger workers, but when there are fewer young workers, governments must adapt. Raising retirement ages, increasing taxes, cutting benefits, encouraging immigration. The economics of death isn't just about individuals. It shapes national policy. Entire economies are quietly influenced by when people die. Anti-aging is becoming a massive industry. Supplements, fitness programs, medical screenings, longevity clinics, experimental therapies. Some billionaires invest fortunes into extending lifespan research. The motivation is obvious. If death is inevitable, delaying it becomes economically valuable. More years alive means more income potential, more consumption, more relationships, more experiences. But there's a subtle irony. People spend money to extend life, and then spend additional money because life is extended. Longevity increases both wealth and expenses. Living longer is financially beneficial, but not financially free. When someone dies, families face immediate financial consequences: funeral costs, medical debt, loss of income, legal fees, estate complications. In some cases, death creates inheritance wealth. In others, it creates financial crisis. The same biological event, death, can produce completely opposite economic outcomes depending on preparation. Insurance, savings, and planning determine whether death transfers stability or stress. Which leads to another uncomfortable truth. Financial planning is often less about living well and more about protecting others after you're gone. Humans do something strange. We avoid talking about death, but we sign documents about it constantly. Insurance policies, wills, retirement plans, medical directives. It's like collectively agreeing, I don't want to think about dying, but just in case, here's paperwork. There's even a quiet joke economists sometimes make. The only perfectly predictable life event is death. Everything else is uncertain: career, markets, relationships, health timelines. But mortality? 100% probability. No exceptions so far. Here's the deeper perspective. The economics of death is not really about dying. It's about how societies allocate resources around risk, time, and uncertainty. Every safety regulation, every hospital investment, every insurance policy, every retirement system exists because humans are temporary. If people lived forever, entire economic systems would collapse or transform. Scarcity of time is what gives urgency to decisions. Urgency creates markets. Markets create economies. In a strange way, mortality is one of the foundations of civilization. Whether you realize it or not, your existence influences financial systems. You generate economic activity while alive. You generate costs and transfers when you die. You influence decisions long before either happens. But here's the most important insight. Your value is not defined by economic models. Economics measures costs. It measures risks. It measures probabilities. It cannot measure meaning. And maybe that's the one part of human life that will never have a price. What truly matters is not how long you exist, but what you give while you do. Time becomes meaningful only when it is shared. Wealth can be accumulated, but impact is created. Mortality limits the timeline, but it amplifies significance. And perhaps the rarest currency in any lifetime is presence. Give me your thoughts in the comments and subscribe if you like this video.